Time to lead drive. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's breakfast with Bob. It's breakfast with Bob. And brother Andy.
Yo, Pacho! Championship edition presented by EAS Sports Nutrition, Cliff Bar, Timex, The Roca, Tanya Porter Resort, Rudy Project, and Slow Twitch. We are with the gentleman for the second year in a row, fourth place, Mr. Andy Potts. Andy, how the heck are you?
I'm great. Before the race started, you asked me to come by, do a little pre-race interview.
Yes.
And I said, how about we wait till afterwards? And I deserve an interview for my performance. So
Yes.
I'm glad that I'm honored to be here and honored to have earned the right to talk with you this morning.
Earn the right. Wow, I like that. So, Andy, since we didn't get to chat with you beforehand,
Yep.
take me back. You're obviously top swimmer, and you leave Michigan, time to get in the workplace.
Yep.
Go to Chicago, working 9 to 5. Talk a little about that job.
That job was a soul-searching job.
Yeah.
There's a big vacuum after you have each step of your life planned for.
Yes.
Up through your young 20s.
Right.
And it was just a natural progression of what do you do after middle school? You go to high school. For me and my family, it was after high school, go to college.
Right.
And then it was like, here's the abyss. We're pushing you over the edge after I got my degree.
Yeah.
And it was sink or swim.
Right.
And I floundered for a while trying to find my niche.
Your next step.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think those situations happen in life a couple of times whenever transitions happen. In today's culture, we're seeing fewer people that are with one company through 35
Right.
yewith
And get their watch and leave,
Exactly.
right? They're always looking to move to
They
the
are.
next thing.
And you did the same thing, and you're doing the same thing right now.
Yeah.
With Babbitttville and,
Yeah.
and your radio show.
Yeah.
I think that when you're young and that happens, it's more disconcerting because you have less experience. But it's invigorating because you have less responsibilities. So I was stuck there for a little while. Tried about 7 different jobs.
Really? 7 different jobs?
Yeah. And
You were like at one point cold calling.
I
90
was.
calls
That
a
was
day.
like the main job, and I was kind of moonlighting as a bouncer.
You were a bouncer.
Yes, sir. And I did some camps and clinics. Kept my hand in the sports world, that kind of thing. And it wasn't until I really was like, I need sports in my life to be a big player in my life, big part of my life, and I'm so happy that I found triathlon. I don't know how the stars aligned, but they did, and I found the sport, and I'm always searching for the next thing in the sport. What do I want to achieve? What do I want to accomplish? Because it allows people to set their goals.
Sure.
And it allows, there's a tangible aspect to triathlon, but there's also the, as soon as you get close to your potential in the sport, your potential shifts and it moves up and higher.
Got to keep going.
And you got to keep going.
Exactly. So you made that one cold call to USA Triathlon.
I did.
And basically said, listen,
what do you need to know?
Really, what do you need to know? I want to be an Olympian,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you'd been going to be an Olympian as a swimmer. Didn't happen. So, but that Olympic dream wasn't gone. You wanted that.
Yep.
And what did they say when you called them? Basically, that was the ultimate cold call.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, I'm a former swimmer, and I can swim. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
What else do I need to do? They're like, well, do you own a bike? I own a bike. It's a steel machine. It's a tank, but
It can get me there.
yeah. And then they're like, okay, well, we need to see some running times.
Yes.
We'd love for you to go out and do a 10K.
Right.
And I said, well, how fast do you want me to go? They're like, just try your best, do your best. I said, tell me,
Give me a
how
time.
fast you want me to go. And they were like, well, if you could go sub 35. And I said, let's not mince words here. what are the
Give me real
thresholds,
times.
and like throw it out there.
Yeah.
And so they were like, okay, the closer you get to 31 minutes, the more of a player we think you are. How long you been running? I'm like, oh, a year. And
Yeah.
they're like, okay, well, aim for 30. You know, like they gave me a couple different
Yeah.
targets, and I was like, okay, I'm only aiming for the top target.
Of course.
And I ended up training for a 10K for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And I ran like 31 low. They said 31, and I said, okay.
And so then you're in Colorado Springs.
Yes. Yeah.
Then you're a player.
Yeah.
And within a couple years, you're on the Olympic team.
Yep.
And you go to Athens.
Yes.
And when you were a swimmer, the goal was, I want to get to the Olympics and I want to win a gold medal.
Well, it was.
Or just want to get to the Olympics.
it was. I want to win the mile.
Right.
I was
On the
super-
1500. Yeah.
I was super specific. I was like, I want to win the mile at the Olympic Games.
Right. So you go to Athens.
And I won the mile.
Right, because you led the swim. You led the swim in the triathlon. You
Yeah.
won the mile. So you called your coach afterwards. I won the mile.
There you go.
We worked together.
Yes, sir.
So the Olympic experience over, and after the Olympics, I think your wife had kept it a secret from you.
She did.
That she had been diagnosed with cancer.
Yep.
And now that changes everything in terms of the way you guys live your life.
Yep.
Right? And how did that change things for you?
Well, we had the opportunity of triathlon,
Yeah.
and we used it as this. It was a kind of a mechanism for us to allow us to live life on our own terms.
Right.
Similarly to the void that happens after college, there's some point in, and it changes for everybody, but there's some point in life where you realize that life is short.
Yes.
And these moments happen for different people at different times. For some people, unfortunately, it happens really young.
Right.
For us, we were in our mid-20s, and we realized, wow, like the love of my life could be gone soon, and we have no control.
Right.
So what do we need to do to own our lives? Let's take ownership of our lives. Let's pursue our dreams. Let's live life on our own terms. And that's why triathlon has been so empowering for me and my family, because it's this huge opportunity that we see it as a way to show our kids what hard work means.
Yes.
It's a way to just it's a lifestyle choice. It's obviously there are specific endeavors and specific races.
Sure.
But we're in it for the lifestyle aspects of endurance sports and opportunities, like showing our kids that the world's a big place, that there are lots of opportunities, and when you try your best, good things can happen.
Good things happen. And you look at everything you've accomplished from all the wins at Alcatraz and at Oceanside, and then coming here and, first time out getting 7th, and another 7th, and now 2 4ths. And I love the line you said yesterday that your dad told you that your reach should extend beyond your grasp.
Yes.
Which my wife said also is the line you should use at a buffet.
Yeah,
Which
right.
is really important. Talk a little bit about that how have you reached beyond?
Well, I do set lofty goals
Yeah.
for myself. Each success for me has brought higher goals.
Yeah.
And it's kind of along the mantra of success breeds success.
Yes.
But I want to continue to push the envelope in terms of what I'm capable of doing, because you don't know until you try.
Yeah.
There were multiple times yesterday during the race where I wasn't having any fun, and I kind of wanted to stop.
Really?
Yeah, and it happened early. It was
the
one of those
bike?
early and often type of things, unfortunately.
That little guy sitting on the shoulder going,
Yeah.
the condo's there.
We want to be done. Like, we want this to be done. I was like, every time I said, "You'll be done soon enough."
Yeah.
You peep down. But when you have those opportunities and you're able to thwart them
Yes.
and keep them at bay, it's empowering. So, I set lofty goals, and I think that the higher I set my goals, it allows me there's room for me to be content and satisfied, but not necessarily like, oh, I've accomplished everything ever.
Yeah.
Because that's just not possible. So
What's interesting is in the past it's always okay. Andy's gonna be first out of the water. First out of the water, that was always a big deal. It seemed like yesterday was like, I don't need to be first out of the water. I just let Dylan McNeese. He wants to go. Yeah, listen, rather than people sitting on my feet, maybe I'll sit on somebody else's for a change.
Yeah, it allowed me to keep my heart rate down a little bit. So it made my race shorter. You know, I was out there for 7.5 hours.
Right.
At race pace.
Yes, that's a great point.
And so it shortens my day having that skill.
And you also have to be the navigator when you're off the front.
Right. All I do is follow bubbles.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes a big difference, right?
Yep. So that was nice. And my goal, all my goals were surrounding the finish line.
Right.
So it would have been nice to come out of the water first, but
who cares? At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it's how you finish, not necessarily how you start.
Yeah.
So.
And you were strong all day, it seemed, on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
And then your run was great. Take us through the run portion of it, because it's funny, this race used to be thought of Craig Alexander, sort of a shorter guy, you and Jan Verdane are bigger guys.
Yeah.
And the heat, a bigger surface area, it can be a problem. You were wearing scarf over that. Seemed like it really helped cool.
It did because it also, when I dunk it, with the sponge, it retains some of the cooling factors. What I would do on the run was I would do inventory right before aid station, and because Kona is unique for the professionals because we have our own fluids that we're allowed to prepare the night before, and so nutritionally we can get our nutrition intake at the Pro Fluid station.
Right.
So what I did is, I said, I don't need nutrition at the aid stations. What I'm going to use the aid stations for is temperature control.
Interesting.
And if there were something that there was a hole or something I missed or something I was craving or needing, I would use the aid stations for that. Like, I need cola, or do I need some salt?
Yes.
But I prepared well for that, like the night before, making sure I had everything potentially that I would need. And I used every aid station, just keep that core, try to lower the core temp as much as possible. Dumping water or ice down my suit certainly helped through the back and the front. And then just dunking and sponging on top of my head. And
you were also using a little max speed.
I was. Speed.
So that came from your daughter.
It did. So my kids have been watching Max Steel for a while.
Max Steel, yes.
And they run around the house. You know, like when you're younger, you can use your imagination and acquire special powers.
Of course you can.
Which I had special powers when I was younger too.
We all did.
Right. Yeah. And so my kids will imitate superheroes, and that was one of they run around the house, and my daughter's, well, if she wants to go super fast, she kind of pins her arms back and says, "Speed," and goes super fast. And I don't know what made me think of it, but I was, your mind wanders during races, and my mind went to, all right, I'm putting on the afterburners, speed.
So you were using that.
And I would jet through aid stations with speed.
I love that.
Yeah.
The transition for you from Olympic distance, Olympic format, which is just go.
Yep.
Right? You just go, and it's sub 2 hours or sub 150 to 70.3 and then Ironman. How tough was that? Because it seemed like you've been so successful at both at 70.3 and Ironman.
Well, I think I showed up to the sport of triathlon with a nice set of tools in my toolbox.
Yeah.
And the biggest skill I have is my mind and my ability to adapt.
Yes.
So my heart and lungs aren't too far behind.
I think they're really good.
But in terms of the mental challenge of the game, I'm super interested in how to evolve,
yes,
how to stay ahead of the curve, and what are the skills necessary to excel.
Mm-hmm.
Got to learn about the sport and learn what it takes to excel, and then train towards that. So I've moved up in distance. I've kept my swimming as a strength, as a weapon.
Right.
My run is a weapon. I feel like I've got weapons, and I try to use them appropriately for whatever the race is calling for. And I think that, when you come from a race background where everything is tight from swimming, like it's tenths of a second, to triathlon ITU racing where it's seconds separate things, and then we're the gaps are a little bit longer in half Ironman and Ironman, but it's still racing, and it's still tactically important to read conditions and athletes and their demeanor on race day, and the more you do it, the more, if you're paying attention, the better you should be getting at it. So
I know after fourth last year, you're going, okay, I'm ready to win.
Yeah.
Now you come here, you go to every race to win. But at the same time, we all know that the thing that makes this race really, really hard is not just the heat and the wind, but it is the competition. I mean, nobody's here going, I'm training through this. This is everybody's A race. Everybody is, if they're there, they're ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
So coming away with a fourth on a great day, what do you gather from that?
The lessons are still setting in.
Yes.
I definitely learned a lot. I felt like I prepared the best way I knew how.
Yeah.
And I was really prepared for yesterday.
Yeah.
Knowing everything that I knew.
Yes.
Then.
Right.
Now, with new knowledge, I have more things I need to improve upon.
Like what?
I think late stages of bike needs to be have less impact on my overall race. Whether that impact is a time gap into T2 or an energy expenditure for the run. So there's multiple ways to look at it. So you can either look at your cycling as a way to gap your competition or keep your competition in check, or you look at it as how can I ride fast with being able to run fast afterwards
without it impacting
and having less influence on, or just less impact on your race. Yeah. So I'd like to improve maybe the last quarter of my biking. And I think that just comes with more experience, maybe a few more longer rides.
Yes.
High tempo and high intensity in late rides. It's lots of things in life have to do with what you're doing, but timing matters too.
Big time.
Right?
Yes.
So when you do what you're doing is super important in triathlon and in all aspects of life.
Exactly.
Timing is important. So I think I need to learn a few more things and apply that knowledge for my training for the future.
One of the things you told your wife before the race was that there were points where you would have to race with courage.
Yes.
And you did that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you must feel good about that.
I hope that every triathlete has someone that they can count on and lean on, whether that's a wife like mine, a training partner, a coach, an old high school friend, whomever. I hope that everybody out there isn't doing it by themselves. And what that partner can do, that partner in crime, is they can give you motivation in terms of some words of encouragement, because you'll speak a common language. And you take those words to heart because those people have your best interests in mind.
Yes.
And so I talk to my wife before every race, and she'll give me small pointers, or we'll talk through things. And before this race yesterday, we talked about there's going to be moments. It's not everything's going to be easy. Not everything's going to come easy. But when there's going to be maybe a half a dozen to a dozen moments in the race where this is the race.
This is it.
You need to have courage to race with strength in that moment. And I said it's race with courage here and now. And during the sticky moments of yesterday, that's what I told myself. And it recenters you on why you're out there, why you're pushing, and it gives you a greater purpose than just hanging out in pure agony.
Love it.
So,
Andy, thanks so much for taking time. Congratulations again. 4th place. How about a round of applause for Mr. Andy Potts? We are presented by EAS Sports Nutrition, Cliff Bar, Timex, Roca, Tanya Porter Resort, Rudy Project, Slow Twitch. Andy Potts has been our guest. Poncho Man, take us out.
Down the Lee Drive, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's breakfast with Bob. It's breakfast with Bob. It's breakfast with Bob.
Yeah, Poncho Man!
Cool. Thanks, buddy.
thank you.